Lewis from Crazy for You. And as you can see, my dog is joining us this evening. So on this episode of the podcast, I'm excited because it's spring. It doesn't really feel like spring here in Maryland yet, but it will come. And, this is the time we sort of think about putting away our garments for the season. And if you read the newsletter, I shared with you some tips about making sure that you're doing the right things when you put your stuff away so that next season in the fall, when you come to get your stuff out, your sweaters out, that they look as beautiful as they did when you put them away. So if you read the newsletter, you know that, first of all, you want to wash them thoroughly. You want to make sure that there's no soap residue in there. So rinse them really well as needed. You want to store them so that they can breathe. And really the last is the biggest secret of all, is that I don't store them. I kind of go away, leave them in my closet on the shelf and shake them out every so often. So those are my big tips for keeping your sweaters looking great. But let's get back to the washing and rinsing part, because that is huge. And I'm super excited to have with me tonight the queen of sweater washing and rinsing, Jacqueline Sava. She is the founder, CEO, and owner of Soak Wash. And I'm super excited to have her here because I love Soak Wash because it is fabulous. And I could go on and on about it, but instead I'm going to bring her on and let you guys meet her and maybe ask questions. Let her talk about why Soak is so awesome. So just a minute. All right. Hi, Amy. Hi, Rita. Hi, Alicia. Hey, Norma. Hey, Gail. I'm glad that you could be here tonight. So hi, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Such a beautiful introduction. Thanks for having me.
You probably don't remember this. It's going to sound like such a crazy fangirl thing, but I actually met you at TNNA kind of early on, right? I don't remember what year it was. I mean, I started in 2004. I think the first trade show I went to was 2005. How long have you been doing this?
Our first TNNA was 2006. That was our first wholesale trade show.
Then that was must have been the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. I love our customers who have been around since the beginning. So my brain is a Rolodex. So I always know when things come up where they're talking about, people at the office. I was like, oh yeah, we met her in 2006 in this city, in that city. So yeah, that's amazing.
So okay, first of all, I love that you own the company. I love that this is a woman-owned company. I try to do business with companies that are, woman-owned. And so I love that. How did you get started?
Oh, well, I was designing knitwear. So my background's industrial design, product design. And I took a machine knitting class at Rhode Island School of Design when I was doing my thesis. And I just fell in love with the knitting machine. My mom was a knitter. I grew up sort of like half finishing sweaters. I would do like a really good pattern for 3 inches and then she would finish it plain because I would never, get around to finishing it. But the knitting machine fell in love because for me, it was the mix of technology and pattern and a little bit more speed and figuring things out and designing things. And I started making hats. I did, the obligatory sweater. But then I was really more into hats and more structural shapes. And so I was designing knitwear when I graduated. I was selling it. My first business was like a wholesale business of my knitwear. And then people started asking how to take care of it. How do we take care of these items? And I couldn't really find a product on the market that I loved. And we were washing we were soaking the knits when they came back from the knitters. We worked with independent machine knitters. So we would send out all this yarn and then we'd get back all these knits and some would smell like curry and some would smell like smoke and some would smell like air freshener, So we pre-washed everything as we always recommend, like the finishing, right? We soaked everything. But we were using baby shampoo or Snuggle or whatever. And I realized that this really wasn't cutting it for us. So I had a friend who was working for a private label manufacturer of like bubble baths and shampoos and things like that. And one day at lunch, she was giving me samples. Like she would give me like a sample of hand cream, but like the label was sideways, like, offcuts equivalents, and I said to her, hey, I wonder if we could make a wool wash and to have something that would go along with our knits so that you could finish the story of like, this is what you bought. This is how you should take care of it. And so soak was originally meant to be a secondary item to my knitwear collection. But then the opportunity kind of kept growing. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, messages. And so all of a sudden, we were designing knitwear. We were trying to use more eco-friendly yarns. We were doing bigger production, and it was very trend and fashion and what colors next. But our knitwear was meant to last longer than that. And so when we started making soak to go along with it, then that's when we learned about, like more access to the knitting industry. So we did our first event was our local Knitters Frolic, which is coming up again in April in Toronto. And that was sort of our preface for everyone was like, hey, there's this trade show. It's called TNNA. You should go check it out. And so my mom went with me. She was an apparel designer and she was retired, but like, the most accomplished business person. So I was like, hey, Mom, want to go to, I think it was Indianapolis that year. So
yeah.
Want to go on a trip with me? And she was like, really, you want me to go to trade shows again after all these years? I was like, yep. And so off we went. And that's kind of how it started. And it just kind of exploded and took off from there.
Very cool. Very cool. Wasn't your plan, but sometimes plans change, don't they?
Yeah, definitely not a plan, but definitely an opportunity because, we sent out our bottle shaped postcards and letters to the mailing list, like super old school, bring a postcard to the booth, get a free sample, that kind of thing. And when we got to the booth, there was like this lineup of people and we were just like, what is going on? And so we really knew there was an opportunity. And since then we've grown to like craft stores and lingerie stores and apparel stores, and we ship all over the world and all kinds of places because really like people have things that they love, whether they've made them or they've bought them, it's still an emotional investment. And sometimes people don't know how to take care of them or they're afraid to wash them because they don't want to ruin them. And so what our mission is to help people like always wear their favorite clothes and always feel their best. And we just do that through detergent.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not really detergent. I mean, it's special. I mean, I love that it's so gentle. And two things that I love. Okay. So I don't know if you read my newsletter or you were subscribed to my newsletter or whatever, but the whole idea of washing your clothes, your sweaters adequately at home, not sending your hand knits to the dry cleaners. It just makes me crazy when I see people, they're like, oh, I just dry clean this. It's like, oh, please don't, please just wash it. It'll be so much happier.
So easy.
Yes, it's so easy, and everybody has the terror of having felted something. You pull it out and it's doll sized, right?
For sure.
But the idea that you don't have to do a lot of special stuff. You just put it in, you let it soak, pull it out. Boom, Bob's your uncle,
We own the word, as a fun fact, we now have the word soak trademarked in Canada, US, the UK, and EU, which is crazy because it's not a trademarkable word because it's a function of doing laundry if anyone's like a trademark nerd. But because we've been using it for 15 years, we were able to go after like a use case that like it's well enough known that we have it. It's super fascinating because at the beginning we're like, it's the right word. We're just going to do it, even though you can't ever like trademark it. So yeah, well, we want the process to be easy, right? Because if it's too much work or too high risk in anything, really, we don't do those things, right? We just find a way around them, right? Whether it's dry cleaning or not washing. I've met people at TNNA that are like, "Oh, this sweater, I've never washed it." breathe.
So when you were designing it, and did you work with like chemists? Did you work?
Yes.
Tell us about that process. I guess what I'm asking you to tell the audience and me is stop already. What makes soak so special? I mean, everybody I hear, oh, I'll just get some wool.
You're like, no.
And I'll just be like, oh, please don't. It's so foamy. It's so sticky. It's so harsh and all the things. So
the first thing you do when you start to make a product is you make a wish list. So what do I want it? Like, how do I imagine it to be? So for us, it was, gentle, obviously gentle on your knits, but also gentle on your hands. Hand washing is not fun, but it's important. So it has to be easy on your hands. So gentle on your garments, gentle on your hands. For us, we wanted it to smell beautiful. I know lots of people love scentless, but the fragrance, like I used to design wool hats, and I tell you, like on a light winter snow or a spring rain, you're like, oh, I'm wearing a sheep on my head. You're just like, it just like mists out sheep,
I do.
Yeah, exactly. You all know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
So we wanted something that would kind of kick that smell a bit when you're doing your hand washing, because obviously we were in knits in the beginning. So we wanted the fragrances to be really sophisticated and really beautiful. And they just give like a hint of like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this smells nice. Oh, I don't feel like I'm doing a chore, which is why we call it skincare for your clothing. And we needed the experience to be very easy, right? The less water you use, the less agitation you use, the less you have to squeeze and wring out your sweater, the better it is for the sweater, and the more likely you are to do it again, right?
Yes.
You use Woolite, you can, sometimes I say to people, you know what? You can use your dish soap, you can use your bar of soap. Things will get clean with soap. The question is, what are you stripping off the fibers? And how do you feel about it at the end? And how do your hands feel at the end? So you can use Woolite in your sink. You just will not be a happy camper at the end of the experience, because you will have spent like 3 hours, if you have like a big cable sweater, trying to like rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse forever. So there's a lot of products on the market where you have that experience, and then you don't want to do it again. And then you don't wash your knits, or you don't wear them because you don't want to have to wash them. And for us, neither of those things are acceptable, because from our background in designing knitwear, like someone was when I was designing my hats, they were like, what business are you in? I said, oh, I make knit hats. And they're like, well, not what you make, what business are you in? And the business that I'm in is making people happy and making them feel good about themselves. And the way that I do that is by helping them take care of their favorite things. Because when you wear your favorite things, you feel amazing. And whether that's, I'm getting goosebumps, love what I do. Whether that's something that you knit and all the hours and love that you've put into it, and you've carried that sweater like on the streetcar, to work, on a trip, away for the weekend, looked at it every day for like 3 months when you didn't touch it, whatever. The emotional connection that you have to that is the same as really great lingerie that you buy for yourself when you get a proper bra fitting. It's the same as your favorite workout gear. It's the same as, a great blanket or a throw. Those emotional connections are what we take care of. And so that's what we really wanted to do when we formulated, is like, how are we going to get those best features in a bottle? And we use recycled plastic for our bottle. We have used 100% PCR since I think like 2012 or something.
I love that, by the way.
And before it was even like trendy or cool, and it was also very expensive at the time because it wasn't so popular, but we're just trying to add all these little features in to make it a really good product. And we also wanted the bottle to be beautiful on your shelf, because we want you to keep it on the counter, not under the counter, so you actually use it for all your favorite things, whether you're hand washing your knits or whether you're putting your like everyday sweaters, or like this jersey that I have on is from a brand called Encircled that I love, and it goes in the machine, but it goes on the delicate cycle with soak. So whether you're hand or machine washing, we want the bottle to be available to you. And the only way it's available to you is if it's pretty enough that you want to look at it. So really a holistic approach to product design, not just purely about the formula. So so that's kind of what we did. And then we worked with the chemists, and then you sort of go back and forth testing things and figuring out like what the exact right amount of fragrance is so that it smells fresh when you're using it, but it doesn't linger or drive you crazy. All those kind of things were balancing points.
That's huge too, because I know I love the fragrances. I'm a big fig fan. But I always tell people, with the testers in the shop, smell it and, kind of get a sense of what it's going to be like, but it's not going to be that strong in your garment.
For sure.
It's going to be really pleasant while you're using it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that it's not sudsy. So I don't know if you want to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. The ABCs of washing your stuff with soak,
Suds are totally an illusion. Just so everybody knows, when you design a product, suds are an illusion.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
Unnecessary.
Thank you so much.
You can decide. There's like a special glass cylinder with special measurements, and you decide like when you shake it how much suds you want to have. So Amy, I'll get to your question. So suds are an illusion. You don't need suds to clean. Toothpaste, as an example, was neither mint flavored nor sudsy when it was invented, but people needed it to taste good in order to do it twice a day. And the suds show you that something's actually happening. So if you use a non-traditional toothpaste, you would know that you don't get that like frothy toothpaste situation. And it's because you don't need it. It's just that historically, like that was a sign to show it was being used. So bubbles and bubble bath is like fun. So
people need a certain amount of it to know that it's working.
Right, which is still also an illusion.
A tiny bit. I get it. I totally
you know, get to be like, ooh, something fun is happening here. Yeah, exactly. So you need a little bit of bubbles to know that something is happening. And the way that it works is that you also need water, right? You need enough water to carry the soap particles through the garment. And then what happens is the soap particles grab the dirt particles and hold them together and then bond them with the water and take them off the garment and attach them to the water. And so that's sometimes I say, like, if you've ever seen like a dishwasher commercial and those like little scrubbing bubbles come in and they grab all the dirt off the plates and they swoosh and spiral away. It's kind of like that. And the no rinse aspect is part of the formula in that it is designed to surround the dirt and then bond it with the water so that it can't go back on the garment. So we often talk about quick rinse as well. And a lot of our marketing is moving towards quick rinse versus no rinse because a lot of like the knitting industry understands no rinse, but a lot of our other markets haven't ever experienced other no rinse washes. But essentially the idea is that a no rinse formula, when you get it wet again, will not suds up. So if you're bored, you can like rub some soak into something, but you could like rub your kitchen sink detergent, like your kitchen sink detergent. I'm so tired. Oh my gosh. Your like dish soap. Your dish soap onto something and then let it dry. And then the next day when you come back to it, if you get it wet again, it's going to like rebubble up. And so a no rinse formula is designed not to like be there enough because it's bonded with the water to actually like go bubble up again. So if you didn't rinse out your hat and you wore it and it rained, you're not going to get like suds up on your hat. Whereas if you wash,
does that have to do with the amount of sudsy there is, or is it a separate?
It's just the kind of different base of the chemicals that you put in it. And so the other thing that's important to say is like all washing products are chemicals. Our bodies are made out of chemicals.
Yes.
Chemicals are not bad. Bad chemicals are bad for you. But there's a lot of like miscommunication about like whether things have to be all natural or like what is in it and those kind of things. So we use naturally derived ingredients. So again, we started using different cleaning agents when it was really expensive and hard to find naturally derived cleaning ingredients. But you don't want to say like it's totally chemical free because everything has a cleaning agent in it, which
Salt is a chemical.
Salt is a chemical. Water is a chemical. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And at the same time, you want to know that things are working and that things have preservatives and that they have shelf life. So the other reality is that we're making a product that we ship to stores that has to sit on a shelf till somebody buys it and then has to sit at home on your shelf while you use it. And if we pour out and then we use our finger to clean the lip, and I've been snuggling my puppy before that, or my cat, or I just made dinner, like all these invisible germs, you want them to not grow inside your bottle. So preservatives are good as well, which is something that kind of comes up. People, want it to just not have any of those things. And the cost of those things is not a shelf stable product. So there is an element of formulation that has to do with like, where is the product going to go and how is it going to live,
Right. Right. And I think, you don't know Tanya, but she's hilarious. And she just made the point, cyanide is now all natural cyanide.
For sure.
It doesn't mean it's good.
Best friends, Tanya, you and I, best friends. Yeah. So we got
that's
questions
totally
a lot,
true.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I sort of think about it, and this is the way I explain it to my customers because it was explained to me this way. I don't know if you know Sally Melville. Do you remember Sally Melville?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Sally was like the first one to say, hey, this is how you should wash your stuff, right? That the bond between the cleanser and the dirt is stronger than the bond between the dirt and your fabric. It's sitting on your fabric, right? The dirt is sitting on and inside the fibers of your fabric. And it is, it's an anionic or an ionic cleanser that pulls that dirt to it. And like you say, bonds with the water. So, I mean, for those, we have a lot of chemistry engineer types that chemical attraction between the dirt and the cleanser is stronger. So it pulls the dirt away and off, And
there's no question, like if you haven't washed your sweater ever, and the dirt and the water immediately goes brown, you should let the water out and do it again until the water is reasonably clear. When you wash your knitwear, the water should be reasonably clear and a little bit dirty, because what we're trying to remove is what we call invisible dirt. So it's like the oils on my skin because I have a scarf wrapped around my neck. The fact that when I knit, literally every strand of fiber has gone through my hands, and my hands have natural oils on them, even if I clean them all the time and I use my chopsticks to eat my like chips, whatever my thing is to keep my yarn clean, your hands have still touched every part of it. Plus, when you finish something, you have the manufacturer's finishes that are on the fibers that you want to release as well. And assuming that you have swatched and that you're like at the right gauge and stuff, you want your garment to then look and relaxed like your swatch. So, there's all this invisible dirt, and really the heavier this invisible dirt is on the fibers, the less, the less fluffy, for lack of a better word.
Right, it doesn't bloom.
It doesn't bloom, exactly.
You need that. So I just wrote a big article for the Neuro Knitting magazine on the importance of washing your stuff and, letting it bloom.
For sure.
Getting like, depending on the fiber too, like something that has a lot of Angora in it, if you don't wash it, you're not going to get that spinning oil out. Yeah, you're not going to get the floof.
Exactly. You don't get the floof. Exactly. And so the more invisible dirt kind of builds up on your garments, you're just sort of like weighing it down. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to get it off the surface, and clean it out and refreshen the fibers and get them back to their original shape. And the same thing holds true for lingerie and your sports bra and your workout clothes. Like I did what day is today? Wednesday. So I did the hang your sports bra on the bathroom door and wear it again. And then today I was running on the treadmill and I was like, oh, Jacqueline, so much better. Your bra is so stretched. Like, what are you doing? I know better than to do that. It needs to get washed so that the stretch goes away and it goes back to the shape that it's supposed to be. Nobody was around. It wasn't like it was smelly, but it was just that it wasn't holding its shape. And so knit fibers especially need to have their original shape back. They want to be the way they were meant to be. And the more invisible dirt that kind of builds up, the less happy the fibers are. And again, we're about happiness, right? So we want your sweaters and your garments to be as happy as they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm here to say that just washing your fabric, in water, you don't get the same effect.
Yeah.
I like to have a little soak in the water when I block things, just to let the fibers, one, they bloom. And two, you get, when the fibers are spun, you get twist in there. And when you knit them, you get more twist in there. And so all of that twist is kind of worked into your fabric. But then when you've washed it, when you've knit it, you've put it together and you give it a nice soak, it really does give those fibers a chance to kind of redistribute the twist in there. So it can often get rid of a biasing that you might have from a single ply or the way you knit or whatever. Super helpful, I think, at that level too.
For sure. You should always finish your knitting is not finished until it's been soaked. That's what we say about our knitting. I'm really sorry. Just don't give it away. I made a baby quilt. I put it in the washing machine with soak. It's not ready to be given away until it's been soaked, because it's got ambient dirt from the air. It's got your hands having been on it, and it's not, blooming or having its, final kind of moment. That is part of the knitting process. Even if you're blocking, because water doesn't give you the same effect. Water is not going to pull any dirt away from it. Water is not going to take the oils from your skin away from it either.
True enough. Absolutely. I like to wash it when it's all put together myself. I'm a fan of steam blocking. And then because I do pieced sweaters. And then when it's all done, I like to wash it in soak, and it looks so beautiful.
The other thing to know as well is that is the question that we get often asked is about over dye and color in the water. So most and color fastness and things like that. So most things will have dye or have color run out of them, which is another reason to soak them before you're wearing them and before you're giving things away, if that's what you're doing. And over dye and color is just, it's part of the natural process as well. And when we wash things in the machine or we don't wash them, we just don't see that. So that's something to be aware of. It's not the soak, it's not the water, it's just extra dye on the yarn. And so that's kind of an important part to just know about as well. So it's not pulling color off, it's just taking kind of extra color away.
Yeah. So one of the things I've heard, and you can tell me if this is right or wrong, is that a lot of the detergents are meant to attack like protein stains. And when you think about wool being a protein,
Yeah.
that harsher detergents of a particular formulation can actually kind of eat away at the fiber itself.
So I think two things, like most of us don't wash our knits enough in our lifetimes to worry a lot about eating fibers away.
Okay.
So the exceptions to that are like woolly baby diaper covers where you're washing them on a super regular basis, because everybody always asks us, well, how come do you have to add lanolin back into your wool? It is unlikely in your lifespan, unless you've spun the yarn and you've pulled all the lanolin out, or you're washing like baby diaper covers that are wool knit, it is unlikely that you're going to strip enough lanolin out of something in the amount of times that you'll wash a sweater, for most people. And the other side of it too is that you're also not likely to wear your favorite knit sweater rolling down a hill with your kids, thus getting grass stains all over your elbows. So, right? So like, and that's what those kind of stains are, what heavier detergents are for. So, I washed I have 5-year-old twins, super muddy this weekend. I washed their snowsuits in the machine with soak. And you're like, oh, but they're snowsuits. I was like, yeah, they're snowsuits that had surface grade mud on them, like mud splashes. So I wasn't trying to get like sweat out of them because they're thick snowsuits. There's no sweat in them. I wasn't trying to get grass stains out. I was trying to get surface-based mud off of them, which was useless because they came home today covered in mud again. Not surprising, but they came out perfectly clean with soak. And because I just don't need any harsher chemicals on it. So if I have jeans with grass stains and I need the grass stains out, or I have a white t-shirt that has spaghetti sauce all down it, I need something more aggressive to get those stains out. But the things that soak is designed for are the clothes you love and your favorite things. And so we generally don't abuse our favorite clothes as much as we do the rest of our wardrobe. So
I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So you always just want to use the least amount of anything on your knitwear. So the least amount of detergent, the least amount of water, no hot water, like the least abrasive thing you can find on it. You're not washing it every single week. You're washing it like once or twice a season. Again, this time of year when you're putting
how much soap? How much? So let's say let's say I'm doing it in a dishpan, right? Yeah. A dishpan in my sink. How much soak do we put in there?
We recommend a teaspoon of soap, which is a capful, the bigger cap, this guy, per gallon of water. So
that's not a lot.
It's not a lot. This is super concentrated. You should get like 75 washes out of this. If you're using it in a machine on the delicate cycle or a high efficiency machine, follow the directions for your detergent from your machine. They will be less than the directions of detergent from your bottle. So one of our consultants that we work with wanted us to, I called it like pulling a, like they're like, how do we get people to use more soak? They're like, they're not using up their bottle fast enough. It's like, this is a true problem. So how do we get people? So, use it in the machine, use it for your lingerie. Also, the other thing for knitters to keep in mind is that if you're washing the sweater that you knit, you can also wash the sweater that you bought. So yeah, I call them like my Ann Taylor cardigans, which I usually wear to trade shows and stuff, like my sweaters, my cardigans, my wraps, my summer dresses, my good jersey shirts, all my t-shirts, all those things can be washed in soak, because what I'm doing is I'm taking ambient and invisible dirt out of them after I've worn them a couple times. So whenever I do my laundry, there's always a basin set aside with things to go in the machine with soak. So less is more. You're not trying to create a bubble bath worth of bubbles. A teaspoon per gallon or a couple teaspoons in your machine. The number one mistake with washing machines is people put too much detergent in them.
Well, that's because the detergent companies tell you to put 3 pods in.
Well, of course,
I was like, no,
right? That's how you make money, by selling more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Product
really were like, how do we
penetration.
get people to use more soap? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like my kids are about to run in. Hi, guys.
That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. So
is there anything fabulous you want to tell us that we haven't talked about that we need to know about soak? And if your kids are there, I think that's fine. We all have kids. It's all good.
They will be here imminently. Hi.
It was amazing.
Was swimming amazing? I'm still doing my interview.
Hi.
They're new in swimming lesson season. Pandemic.
Fabulous.
So I think, we have our wash bags. Definitely, if you're going to put your knits in the machine, put them in a wash bag to protect them.
Yep.
Watch out for buttons and finishing things like that you have on them if you're going to wash them. Sometimes you need to take those off if you're going to put them in a machine.
I'm just going to say wash your swatch. Yes, you're swatching. Wash your swatch.
Totally soak your swatch exactly the way you're going to soak your sweater. 150 million %. My mother made the most beautiful sweaters for my kids with Luette Superwash, and the sweaters and she didn't do a swatch, or maybe she did, but she didn't block it. And then I washed the sweaters and they grew, I hand washed them and they grew, and the floats from the color work weren't long enough. And poof, all of a sudden I was like, Mom, I killed the sweaters. This is what happened.
You can put it in the dryer. Superwash goes in the dryer and it'll squish it back up. Hey, we have a question from Amy.
Spot cleaning with soak, for sure. So I do spot cleaning all the time. Everything from coffee off, that's Felix. Everything from coffee off the carpet to a small stain. So you can put some soak in a little bowl. So you can either take the soak, it's bedtime. You can either put a little soak on a washcloth or a rag and then rub it on directly. If you're cleaning a spot, the other question is whether the stain is deep in the fibers. Sit down or go away. Your 2 choices. It's distracting me from my question. So what happens when you clean the shelf behind your phone call that's never ever clean? All of a sudden people will climb on it. That's why you keep the stuff on the shelf. So you can put it on a rag or you can put it right on the garment and rub it in. If you have a stain that is in the fibers, you might need to open the fibers to get cleaning between them. So you can do that with a cloth if it's surface. You can do it with a toothbrush, depending on the fibers, and just do a little gentle agitation. You can use a sponge, something just to open up the edge of the fibers, because if the soap doesn't get into the fibers, it's not going to actually clean out the stain. And then at that point, you want to rinse it out with soak or put it in the wash or whatever it is that you're doing after that.
I told you it's fine. Okay, so I just have to tell you a funny story. I always take my knitters, because I'm big into custom fit and making sure sweaters fit right. We go to a bra salon and everybody gets a bra fitting, and everybody leaves happy with a beautiful new bra and feel fabulous. And so the first time that I was at this place, she was like, oh, well, do you have this?
I was going to say, what's the shop?
I was like, I sell that. I knew about that before you did.
For sure. I mean, wearing a good fitting bra underneath a sweater is super important, because you want it to fit you properly and you want to feel good and you want everything to be in the right spot, especially if you're making a shaped garment.
Right. And especially if you're spending a lot of money on a bra, you want it to last a long time and you want to treat it nicely and you want to wash it all the time. And it's a pain in that neck if you don't have soak. So I love soak because it's great on wool and non-wool. And I want to give you guys a thing. So I am giving away one of these cute little I saw this at the retreat. Yes, this is the tiny one. It has a tiny little bag. Yep. It's got a 3-ounce bottle in it, and it has a little bag. Yep. So this is the size that you would use in your machine if you were doing hand-knit socks or you were doing a hat, a small.
It's also a good project bag too, if you want to just throw your stuff in it.
Yes, it's a great project bag.
Yeah.
So this is cool. So what I want you to do is if you enter in the comments, enter soak wash, all one word, soak wash, and then I will draw. So I'll give you a minute to do that. So this has been fun, Jacqueline. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's so great. I love sharing. I love sharing the soak.
Put it all one word. Karen Denahan. Put it in all one word. No space. Soak wash, all one word. Lori, Phyllis, soak wash, all one word. Go ahead and do it again, all one word, because it's not going to come up if it doesn't have all one word. Amy, all one. There we go. There we go. Come on now. All one word. Put it in. There we go. Okay. Any more entries?
Does anyone have any other questions of things that I haven't answered while Ellen does her draw? Fun facts. Autocorrect is killing you for sure. We've trained autocorrect really well to separate those two words.
All right, let's see.
Yay. Cloth diaper mom having eucalyptus. Yeah, I mean, eucalyptus has lanolin in it, so I can see why if you're doing cloth diapers on a regular basis, but we've done some testing as well, and it's really hard. It's really hard to pull enough lanolin out of something. So, and also we want you to use soak for all your different products, and other things don't necessarily need lanolin added back into them. So in order to use your bottle of soak on your other products that aren't just wool based, that's why we really want to make sure that it's a more versatile product.
Right. You can use it for everything. Okay. What is your favorite scent?
Oh, my favorite scent is yuzu. It's the Japanese citrus. And it also might be a top secret one we're working on that's not released yet.
Ooh.
2 years of pandemic puts everything behind.
Yes, of course.
I like the citrusy ones. I like the complex for flavors that are really bright. So yeah, yuzu's always been my favorite.
All right, I'm going to draw. Who is going to win this? Karen Denahan. Woo, Karen. All righty. Okay, Karen, I have this for you at the shop. I'm not going to mail it to you. I'm going to have you come and pick it up. So I will have that for you behind the counter with your name on it. So congratulations, Karen.
Congratulations. Amazing. Everyone else is putting their favorite scents in there, Big and other fragrances.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
I mean, I really like them all. When I was pregnant, I really had a hard time with fragrances. And so what I actually did is I diluted half soak scentless and half fragrance. So if you love a fragrance, but you feel like it's too strong because you're in a mood or someone in your family doesn't like it, you can also mix it half and half with a bottle of scentless. That's something that I have done, which is random but helpful if you're in one of those fragrance sensitive phases of life.
Yeah. I think it was Susie. She's Colonial Heart here. She was the one who said that, everything she had developed some kind of an allergy to it. So
our fragrances are hypoallergenic. Like we work with fragrance houses that make fragrances for skincare specifically. And then we do kind of strip out all the weird ingredients a lot of them are more banned in Europe than they are in North America. Because in Europe, they have way higher controls around ingredients. And we sell there. So we have to clean them up. So they are quite hypoallergenic. So if you are ever in a situation where you want to try a fragrance, but you're afraid, we have single-use samples. I'm sure Ellen has them at the shop, but otherwise you can always shoot us an email or message us on Instagram and just say, I'm a scentless person, but I want to try the fragrances for sensitivity. And I'm 100% certain that someone will just put some in the mail and send you a few samples to try. Because people tend to react less to soak than they do. Because that's another interesting thing. People react more to natural fragrance oils than they do to synthetic fragrances. And that's counterintuitive. People expect to react to synthetics, except for if you're formulating a fragrance for skincare for on your body, like on your hands, to be on contact with your skin, then you can make a hypoallergenic fragrance. The other thing too, though, is a lot of fragrance houses, it's really hard to get what's in fragrances. So if you have a specific, Yeah, the fragrance is a weird proprietary world. So, but if you have a chemical specific allergy, then just send us a DM on Instagram, or shoot us an email. We're really easy to find. We're happy to get the answers either directly or through the shop.
So tell everybody where they can find you and why they should follow you on Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're at Soak Wash, one word, on Instagram, and I'm Jacqueline_Soak. So you can follow us both. And yeah, we try to share stories from our customers and what people are up to. Lots of like sharing of people's blocking stories and when they're soaking for the first time, talking about fragrances, all those kind of things. And our website is soakwash.com or .ca if you're in Canada. And we have a section called Soak School, which is a really great resource. And Soak School has a million blog posts, and we're just in the middle of a redesign phase. Super fun. Different things you can use soak for, answers to questions for how you spot clean, how you clean home textiles, all kinds of things like that. So Soak School is definitely a great resource to supplement what you're learning when you're in the store if you want to find out about extended uses for the brand.
Very cool. So everybody go and follow Soak Wash on Instagram and look at all their stuff. And if you're going to buy it, I have it on the website. So I also have these. I need to get these on the website, but they are cool, and also sweater sized ones. So
yeah, the large ones. So yeah, I mean, anything that you see on the other thing too is if you see something on our website that Ellen doesn't have in the store, just flip her the link. Just be like, get this. And we can make sure that she has it there in the store for you, for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jacqueline.
It's
been
pleasure.
Really fun.
Thank you for having me. And thanks to everyone who joined us live. And
yeah.
And hello to everyone who's watching it later.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I hope that you've learned a lot about how to take care of your garments and why Soak is a partner in your knitting. So thank you so much. And until next time, keep knitting and create something beautiful. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Good night.